Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. It's the week of April 7th, 2022. This is episode 250, and you'd think we'd be doing something special, but we kind of are. Anyway, I'm your host, Kris Randazzo. Joining me tonight is infectious bug bite, Karen Randazzo.
No one's authorized to pass out.
Overqualified deck officer, Angie Fernot.
Did I eat flesh?
And new cyborg, Evan Goldstein.
It's just suckling you.
It was my turn this month, and I chose the animated comedy series Star Trek Lower Decks. Was it actually funny? Let's find out. But first, I need to talk to you about something that's been happening in this house. So, as you two know, and maybe our 4 or 5 listeners know, Karen and I both have COVID, as does our daughter Ellie. So I have been, since my son John does not have COVID for some strange reason.
He's in charge. There's a small fire in the living room now. He's got war paint on his face. He's carrying around a stick.
The only noises allowed to be made are Metroid noises.
So when he gets home from school, since Karen's further along in the whole COVID thing than I am, I quarantine down here in the basement with Ellie. Mm-hmm. Today, I got to spend my first actual time watching what she watches on her tablet by herself.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
You never saw that before?
I've seen it like glimpses as she's watching it with her headphones on her tablet, but she wanted me to watch this with her tonight, and it's Anya and Elsia. Now I know what you're thinking. I'm mispronouncing Anna and Elsa. No. These are like little kid Anna and Elsa dolls that are supposed to be Anna and Elsa's kids that are named Anya and Elsia. And it is just the most vapid nonsense I've ever seen.
Is this a Disney property? This sounds like something somebody made in their basement.
No.
It is something someone made in their basement.
This is just some extremely monotone, unenthusiastic girl playing with Barbie dolls.
This makes sense that your child would watch this. She is a future supervillain. We know this.
Yeah, it was soul-sucking. I actually felt years of my life draining as I sat and ate my dinner of fried chicken strips and mozzarella sticks because that's what was available to me.
Hear that, Karen? Her master plan is
I'm
working.
not saying it wasn't delicious. I'm just saying it was very salty and I'm quite thirsty.
Counter.
How are you guys doing?
While you're down here watching Anya and Elsia
right, yeah.
with Ellie, I'm upstairs with John watching Mr. Beast Gaming play Minecraft. It's 4 dudes who all remind me of Dean playing Minecraft and like screaming about it.
Then it's awesome. It must be awesome if it reminds you of Dean. Because we love Dean.
Screaming while playing Minecraft.
Nice.
And don't get me wrong, I like Dean. But I'm glad there's one Dean. If there was 4 Deans, I don't even think Dean would be happy with that.
3 too many Deans.
And it's 300% too much Dean.
It's not Dean. Excuse me. It's 4 guys who remind me of the Vestlord persona.
There you go.
You know,
that's
it's
more
like it's like, you know, turned up to 11 times 4. It's turned up to 44.
There are a few things in life that bring me more joy than watching Dean scream at Bubsy. So if it's anything like that, I'm probably into this.
It's like that. Yeah. It's like that, except it's Minecraft.
I don't know how you yell at Minecraft, but okay.
They set up these challenges for like 100 players and they're all in a Discord server, and like the last one to survive gets a prize. And so, but they then have to like try and kill each other, blow each other up, like, you know, form alliances or whatever. It's a whole thing.
I didn't know Minecraft could get so cutthroat. That's a lie. I've definitely locked someone in a building and lit it on fire with no doors.
The other thing he likes is these guys who come up with like pranks in Minecraft. So like you build like a scaffolding over someone's house so high into the sky that they can't see it, and then you put lava at the top so when they come back to their house and they're like, what's the scaffolding, and they knock it down, then lava falls on their house and it burns down, which I actually thought was hilarious.
Damn, that just got dark.
I respect that.
Good times. All right, so since Karen and I are both suffering from COVID at the moment, we are going to try and keep this episode somewhat shorter than usual. So we're going to truncate a little bit of this beginning segment here because we do have some very important things to talk about. I will just say that I haven't caught a whole lot more TV. Last week I was very much obsessing over many things, including going to a con and selling a bunch of stuff over the weekend, which went extraordinarily well with the exception of the, you know, COVID outbreak. So we really just wound up watching a lot of reruns of Parks and Rec. I've been watching more classic Law and Order in the background. When I was dying the other day, I was watching some MST3K in the background. But the one thing I will say that we did watch a couple more episodes of, which has just been fantastic, is that Around the World in 80 Days show. I think we have 2 left.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is magnificent. It
where are we
so
on that
good.
one? We've been watching that as well. We haven't been feverishly watching it. Like we're like a couple of episodes.
So since you're most likely ahead of us, they just survived the desert.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And Passepartout is on the fence about betrayal, or it's setting up to look like he's made a choice about it. I'm not convinced.
So
we'll see.
Yeah,
all right.
It's great. Yeah, we're enjoying that as well.
It's wonderful, and it continues to be. So no
Killing
there.
Eve.
I think it's because it's like old or something that I keep thinking in my head like, oh, this is based on a true story, and then like something happens that is like this is impossible. No one could this could never actually happen. And I'm like, oh no, this is like an adventure story, but it was written a long time ago, but it's not true. Like my brain keeps wanting to go, it's a true story, and I don't know why.
Because it's a great story. It's been around for a very
is.
long time too. So
that about wraps it up for me.
So
besides the Moon Knight, which we'll get to.
okay.
There was no Killing Eve. Is that what I'm hearing?
We didn't watch it just because.
Just because.
I mean, we watched one since we recorded, I think, but the most recent one we were like, yeah, I'm not up to this because we were both pretty
wiped out.
Pretty
The
wiped.
effort of keeping one child COVID free in a house where everyone else isn't is it's a lot.
What do you mean? It sounds like cake.
So the only thing that I have to report on is that I very greedily and hungrily consumed all of Bridgerton season 2.
Damn. Okay, tell me,
Like,
was it good?
all of. If you are into two people who like hate each other and look at each other like they can't breathe, and also that person is the source of all oxygen, like this is for you.
So marriage? Just kidding. I love you.
There's like not nearly as much like, you know, sexy times as season 1.
Oh, thank God.
But there is so much like longing and like coming within a breath of kissing and then not, and
Oh my God, it's angst. It's all angst.
it's all angst. And if you like a good enemies to lovers romance, I will say fans of the book are not excited about there's like a pretty big change from the book. Which they did kind of just to avoid too much sameness with the plot of season 1. So, because I guess in the book, the two, like, the main couple gets together and ends up, you know, in a situation where they get caught in a, they get caught together without a chaperone and it looks like improper, so they end up having to get married. But that's what happened in season 1 too, so they couldn't do that again. So they did something else, and like book fans are like, but it's fine. I enjoyed it. So
that's exactly how I picture them sounding.
No shade to book fans. I like book fans. Who is trying to no? Sorry, my messenger video chat just went on. Like, nope, I'm not. That's not happening.
That response was a hardcore no, thank you.
Nope.
I could not watch this fast enough, basically.
Okay.
Awesome. That's
man.
good. We don't have anything like that. I mean...
No, I do. I have Killing Eve.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I am doing Modern Family. I'm calling it like a sort of a rewatch because I've watched a bunch of it, but not straight through. So I'm just starting from season 1 and working my way through because I need something that I don't have to consciously pay attention to. So while we eat or while I'm just in the living room, it's on in the background, and when I pay attention to it, makes me laugh. So I'm enjoying that. What else did we watch?
TV wise?
Yeah, I feel like we've watched so much, but the listing that I have here is mostly.
Well, we caught up on
Eve.
The Rookie again.
Okay, yeah. Rookie.
So yeah, we watched
That's
that.
Still current. Oh,
Halo.
That have you either of you watched Halo?
No, we're not a Halo house.
Okay.
Okay,
I've been considering it just out of curiosity, but I don't know. It's
it's all right.
So he takes his helmet off and leaves it off?
Yeah.
For a good chunk of time, and I'm going to tell you, it was better on.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the games have been around for eons, and you've never seen Master Chief's face. That's kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, nah, heck with it. He's an actor. We're paying for him. We're going to show his face.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yep.
Do you have to?
Have you heard of Pedro Pascal?
Right? I honestly wish that they did not take his helmet off in this show. I really do. And it's not just because I find him horribly unattractive. It's because I genuinely just don't think it serves the story at all. Like, I have played Halo. It's been a long time. Don't ask me to tell you the story. I won't. But the appeal of that character was the fact that, I felt as though anyone could sort of picture themselves in that suit, because you're right, no one ever sees Master Chief's face. Now, I understand he is typically male, but, it's still just, the iconography of that character was super cool. I don't need to identify with Master Chief's man face. I don't need it. I don't want it. It's not the story I care about.
And what's killing me is that it's porn stash. Every time I see him...
Oh, God, is it?
Yeah.
From Orange is the New Black?
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the more I hear about it, the less I want to watch it.
It's by no means bad, but I'm not speaking from as being a Halo fan, because I don't play the game. I barely know anything about it. I assumed that he never took off his helmet, but he had to for the show, because, like you said, we're paying him. We're going to see his face. It's
Mandalorian. They didn't have to do shit.
Yeah, and if they're gonna pay somebody whose face I want to see, it's Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, nobody wants to see porn stash's face.
That's true. I will say one thing though, as a fan of the games and somebody who has played, especially in multiplayer versus, oh man, that shit was so fun, and I got so excited when this is not a spoiler, it's literally in the first episode, it's basically the entire plot of the episode is aliens attacking humans. One of them pulls out the fucking laser sword, and I lost my mind. I was like, I've killed with that sword! And Evan was like, that's nice, honey. And I was like, I've shot with that gun! And he was like, okay, I get it. And I was like, oh my God, gameplay! He's like, yep, okay, I've lost you. So, in that regard, I definitely enjoyed it. I do like this show. I don't love things about it, but I'm not really there for award-winning television. I'm there for video game entertainment. I liked Red versus Blue. Just leave me alone and let me have this.
No, man, go nuts. It's until I hear that it's something that I should watch. Like everything I've heard about it thus far is like the best I've heard about it is pretty much what you guys just said. Like it's fine. Like
Yeah.
all right, but I got plenty of more than fine,
yeah.
Yeah.
to watch right now.
Yep.
I'm not itching for some mediocrity at the moment.
What do you mean?
Have you guys watched Our Flag Means Death? Have you caught up on that?
Oh yes, I thought. Well, I have. I thought we talked about it last week, so I didn't bring it up. But yes,
So
I have watched all of it.
Okay, I don't know. Hold on. How many episodes are there?
10.
10. So we just finished episode 6, The Art of Fuckery.
Now that's a
Episode
fuckery.
is so cute.
This is a good show. This is a lot of fun. Everybody does a phenomenal job with their parts. It's so good. And I don't like this storyline comes from like a fever dream almost. It's so out there and so just weird, but I almost couldn't believe that it actually happened. like it's like historical almost. We watched a bunch of that.
I just love that his name is Steed because Steve Bonnet was a real piece of shit, but like Steed is a gentleman and a scholar.
Gentleman pirate. We finished DMZ. And that
Did
that
was a show?
that went differently than we expected.
Did it? I don't know.
We had
Yeah.
high hopes at the beginning, and it just sort of went okay.
It was a show.
I think that's about it. You watched a little bit of Outlander.
I've watched Outlander. I've watched the Canadian baking show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just real high stress for a little while. That was like the only thing I could handle was that. I watched more Gargoyles. It's really daunting to try and get through a show that has one season that's 50-something episodes. I just like
Wait, what show is that?
Gargoyles, like the second season, and I'm not
the
sure.
Canadian baking show.
No,
had
no,
50
no, no.
something. What?
No, for some reason that's less daunting. I don't know. I think it's just because like there is a lot of melodrama and like it's a '90s cartoon, so to some extent it's just like yeah, okay, I get it, move on. But then there's something that happens and you're like, well, shit, that's relevant to the plot from before. So now I kind of needed to watch this episode. So I guess I'm just going to keep watching in order and not skip anything. The struggle is real.
And I think that's it. Right?
Yeah, I'm
Other
watching
than-
more Outlander. I'm on, I think this is supposed to be the final season. I like it. It's cool. I don't know. They've done away with the really over the top extremist storytelling style that they had in the beginning of the show that I for some reason found interesting. I think I had at the time mentioned I just liked that it was pushing the boundaries of like what television does and my comfort level of watching something. But eventually I hit a point where I was like, I'm not watching this because I want it to like change my worldviews. It's a fucking fantasy. So I'm glad that that I'm getting through it, and I don't know. I just love. There's just elements of it that I love seeing. I love character interaction, but more than that, I love the settings and just like this modern person figuring things out in an old world. Like one of the characters invented matches, and everybody was like, "We don't need that." Like,
what was it? What was the she inhaled the.
she made ether.
She made ether, and then
Yeah.
he comes in and he's like, that's
And
when
he
I
thinks
walked into
she's
it.
dead,
Like,
yeah.
really, the range of emotion on this dude's face when he thought he found his wife dead in bed, and she just went, "What? What?" Because she inhaled ether that she made. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, like, and that's the stuff. I just find it so interesting because, like, I'm a person who is super weird and daydreams a lot about like what it would be like to live in a different time period like that, and how little we know, and how we'd probably all die very, very quickly. And it's just so cool to like watch this show where this person is literally traveled from the future, living in the past, and dealing with exactly that. And it's incredible. I don't know. I just really love this concept, and I love the way they execute it. So
That's the stuff about that show that I liked. Was like the time travel stuff and the way she like figured out how to do medical stuff with like supplies from back in that time.
Yeah, and she's still dealing with things where, like, she helped somebody who was ill, and then, like, someone accused her of being a witch, and she's laughing about it, and she's like, it's not the first time someone's accused me of being a witch, and it's true, but everyone around her is like, aren't you scared? Like, just because it's not the first time, and, like, this is right around the time of the... Ooh, my cat just attacked my arm. My leg, excuse me. I don't know, my body. Whatever body part that was. Yeah, so like, you know, everybody in the show around this character is like, aren't you scared? And she's like, hell no, I don't give a shit. And it's just so funny because she has this, like, still, even after years of living in the past, has this semi-modern perspective that everyone around her is like, no, you should still be afraid.
Right.
And it's cool. I love so much of this show. But that's it. I'm done. And
I have
All right.
one last thing that I have to share because it's burned into my
Oh
brain.
my God, please don't do this to me.
I made the mistake of watching a trailer for Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Odder.
Oh no.
Okay. So yeah, I was just curious because I saw an image. I'm like, that can't be real, and I started watching it.
You know what the curiosity did, right, Evan?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I've seen a trailer for that because it was like it was a
Like an
unskippable
auto-generated?
ad on
Yeah.
some garbage that I was watching for some reason, and
So apparently Timmy gives, his fairy godparents to a new set of kids. I don't know who they are in relation to it, but Timmy has grown up, and the actor who is playing Timmy, the reason I fell down this rabbit hole is there's just one still of him standing there with, hands on hips with the two fairy godparents on either side, and the crazy eyes that this dude has. I get like, this can't be the guy that they're playing. Like, he can't be real. And he is. And I have no idea how this was made. Like, why it was made. I don't know why this is a thing. It's scary. that some children are going to sit there and watch this and enjoy it. It is so bad. So bad.
Yes, honey, that is the reality of the world we live in. Weird things.
yeah, I have no connection to Fairly Odd Parents, but I know that this looked like a horror show, and
Yeah.
no,
Not all 90s nostalgia was meant to come back, you guys.
especially not in weird half live action. Ugh.
Blah.
I just
It's the
shared.
theme
I
of
just
it.
shared a picture with you guys because that's in my head, and now you get to see it. But yeah,
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's friendship.
But so yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than the two shows that we will be discussing.
For the remainder of our time here.
Remainder,
All right,
yeah.
let's get the business. Have you guys watched both episodes so far?
Yes.
Are you kidding?
Okay, just making sure. I don't know what your day is like.
Does
I
Moon
watched
Knight wear white? Like, come on.
I watched the first one twice.
Okay, all right. So, we've all been holding our breath around the Discord server. Does Evan like this show?
Evan is enjoying this show. Yes. There are things that Evan would have changed or done differently because Evan is a truist, I guess. But I understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I know we've had the conversation about power sets and whatnot. And unfortunately, Angela and I were discussing this when the first episode came out. Moon Knight has been all over the place. Like, he doesn't... Back in the day, he had power that waxed and waned with the moon, and then he didn't, and now he, at one point last year, he took on and beat all of the Avengers, so, like, he doesn't really
So
have...
he doesn't have a definable power
Right.
set specifically.
Correct. What they're doing with this show is really interesting to me because I buy it, I believe it, and I'm being entertained by it, even though I have to look at this and go, this has nothing to do with my comics that I've read, because it barely does. Okay, and that's fine. They have the characters and they have their
Again, at least so
things.
far.
Yes, so far. There are gripes. I'm not a big fan of the way they're portraying Steven. Okay? I'm trying to wrap my brain around why they're portraying Steven the way they are, and the only thing I could do is only thing I can come up with is they're trying to avoid the Bruce Wayne-ness of who Stephen Grant actually is in the comics. He is doing a great job portraying this character, but that's not the Stephen that I'm familiar with. So I don't know.
Interesting. So tell me before we cut you off, tell me a little bit more about comic Stephen Grant, because like I can say that from my perspective, I don't know who Stephen Grant is in the comics at all. I have no clue of his personality. I find him extremely entertaining in the show because I'm not seeing any. There's absolutely no betrayal of anything as far as I'm concerned. And what is he like in the comics?
And that's what I mean. Like his persona in the comics is he is a millionaire playboy. He is Bruce Wayne. Like he is that character, and he is where the money came from to fund Moon Knight. Like Moon Knight was a guy that had a good crescent copter and gadgets and stuff like that, and someone had to pay for that, and that was from Steven because he was a movie he was an actor and then a movie producer and whatnot. Like he was moneybags. Mark was a mercenary. Mark is great. I like the fact that they're showing that stern character. Not the biggest fan that he's not the dominant character, because the main dominant persona in the Moon Knight comic world is Mark.
Is Mark.
Mark Spector's
No,
Moon Knight.
that's also something interesting that I was kind of picking up on today. Like, it seems like he's the amount of life that Mark has lived makes me think that he's just not currently the dominant one, right? Because
possible.
that's what I was thinking about earlier today. That's one thing that I know is that it's Mark Spector is the main guy, and then there's the other ones, right? And so I'm looking at it, and then I'm thinking once she on the bike when she mentioned they were married, I was like, what?
Right.
Okay, there's no way this guy's just been in the background the whole time, because like this guy's had an entire life.
Yes.
So like I feel like right now he's not the dominant one, and like I don't know, I have a lot of questions, and I feel like they're smart enough to come up with some sort of answers for them, because like something still seems off. Like I know there's supposed to be more than two personalities, and the fact that Steven is only just now kind of experiencing what it feels like to be not the dominant one. Now, granted, Mark said something in the second episode, I've been able to keep a wall between us, right?
Yeah.
But something's changed. Almost makes me think like they're going to introduce at some point in the future more personalities that will explain, that will kind of like smooth a few things over. If that makes any sense. It's just kind of a hog wild theory going around in my head.
Well, and that's a strong possibility when it comes to the comic book aspects of his personalities. They worked together. So you have Mark Spector, the muscle. You have Stephen Grant, the money. You have Jake Lockley, who was the cab driver, who was the information. Like that's where Moon Knight got all of his intel, was from Jake, because he played the streets. He was, that's how we got his stuff. And
I just had an epiphany.
Okay.
You said that they're trying to avoid Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
How similar is he to Tony Stark?
It's also
because I wonder
close.
if they're just trying to avoid having a character that's even remotely like Tony Stark.
It's also a possibility that is like, it's not. There's a higher resemblance to Bruce Wayne than there is to Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is super arrogant, and in my experience, Stephen Grant didn't come off that way. Bruce Wayne was like faking it. Tony Stark is it. You know what I'm like?
Yeah. So, no, I get it. I'm seeing like you mentioned the Bruce Wayne thing and them being the money, and I'm like, okay, now I'm thinking like, okay, that makes sense to me to try and avoid a character that resembles any other Marvel characters, right? Because I feel like one of the things they're trying to push with this show is that this is a completely unique Marvel story, and thus far it has been.
Yes.
Like, this character isn't like any other hero we've seen so far. The closest you could get is like Hulk and Banner with the quote unquote multiple personalities, but that's a stretch right there.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's closer to like the supernatural aspect of it. Like, they're playing real heavy into the supernatural aspect of Moon Knight, where that leads closer to like the Doctor Strange side of the Marvel universe, the unknown, the mystical kind of thing. That's another aspect of this show that I'm like, okay, I just have to accept this. This is what they're doing. Moon Knight does not have a magical suit. He does not. That does not make him stronger. Okay, he.
Interesting.
It does not form out of nothing. Dude pulls on pants and tights and throws on a cape. Okay.
What was it that you always used to say about Batman versus Moon Knight?
One will. Well, that Moon Knight is crazy and he'll kill.
Moon Knight gets the job done.
Yeah.
Batman just pretends to.
That's also very true. Yes. That's the thing. Like, I don't know how far they're going to take this character, and I'm okay with what they're doing. Like, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's like another. So,
well, we do know that Mark straight up murders dudes.
Yeah.
Like, we know that
all over the place. He's murdering all over the place.
Yeah,
but
he's got no compunctions with killing folks. So that's something we know.
I thought it was interesting the way they approached this story of like where Steven seems like to not trust Mark at all, but like for a minute he trusts Harrow, which like we as the audience can see Harrow's the bad guy. Like,
well, Harrow is saying the right things.
Right, no, I understand. I'm just saying that it was interesting to have like the protagonist kind of like lean the wrong way for a minute because he had no fucking idea what was going on.
And can I just talk about Harrow screwing the pooch in the second episode? He was so close until he had all of his dudes like walk up on him in the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, you could have just kind of sidestepped the child murder thing and maybe not surround him with everyone. You were like a minute away from getting him to give you what you want.
3 more sentences and you would have had the scarab. 3 more sentences.
Overplayed your hand. Yes. What a jackass. Sorry,
Is
go on.
anyone else like super into the fact though that like Steven was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring up the fact that you're just killing people, and also like you used to work for Khonshu. Fucking what now?
That's news to me. So I'm not okay. So the character that is the villain in this show showed up, I'm gonna say 1, maybe 2 issues of comics. So I'm not 110% solid on this character. Him saying that he was once the Avatar, that's news to me. Yet again, so Moon Knight fans, especially of the comics, have to be really fluid with their story intake, because every time a new Moon Knight book or volume or set of stories comes out, they're very, very different than the one before. So Mr. Knight led into like that craziness that we're dealing with now. Before Mr. Knight, he was in an insane asylum. Like, it's all different all the time.
Do you want to explain who Mr. Knight is for anyone who doesn't know?
So, yeah, throw that out in the comics, because when he showed up in the second episode,
which is
Karen
great,
and I both audibly said, "What?"
So.
I love that I know this. I feel so proud. I'm not a terrible wife.
No, you're not, baby. Okay, so in the comic book world, Mr. Knight is just a new costume iteration of Moon Knight. Damn it, I want to say Jason Aaron, but I'm not 110 right now. I'm blanking on the name. When they relaunched the title, they gave him just a new costume. And it was baller. Like, he looked like a boss, and he just kicked the shit out of everybody. Some of the best visuals in comic bookdom was a stairwell scene a la Daredevil of Mr. Knight making his way up this building in like that suit. This thing that they're doing they're making every personality, well, the two, technically three personalities that we've seen so far are split. Everybody is very separated. Where Mark has Moon Knight, like he generates this costume that is close to the classic representation of Moon Knight, and Steven generates this Mr. Knight costume. Now, in the comics, I explained it was just a new costume. He just decided he was trying to rebrand himself because shit went down with the Avengers and whatnot, and Moon Knight was shunned. So he came back as Mr. Knight. So no capes. In this story, everybody is yelling. Well, not everybody, but two people are yelling at him to call. What is the
summon the suit?
Summon the suit. Yeah.
Summon the suit. Summon the suit. And apparently, Steven doesn't know what that means, so he did it literally. He summoned a suit. Which
it was like on the way down, and he just smacked into something and went, suit!
Yes.
He gets up and says, that should have been a lot worse.
So,
and then he's like checking himself out in the reflection, which just got me.
my favorite part about that. My favorite part about that was Mark looking at him going, "What the hell is this?" Like that was great for me because when I first saw the Mr. Knight costume, I'm like, "Oh, they're redoing it again. Why are they doing it?" And then I read it. And I was like, "Okay, I get it. I understand. I'm buying it. He looks badass. Go." Okay, so a lot of this story is very, very entertaining, but it's like a new volume of Moon Knight. Like it's just I gotta stop paying attention to the stuff before and pay attention to this next 13 issues or 6 episodes.
Yeah,
but there are certain things,
and like I guess that's kind of the other piece of it is that whereas comics, you're gonna get different volumes that play fast and loose with the rule set, so you can kind of go all over the place. When it comes to the MCU, they kind of set everything in stone. So I kind of see where they were looking at, all right, let's come up with some ground rules that make that keep this character unique, that nobody else is going to play in that sandbox, and that we can stick to going forward without contradicting whatever else we have other people working on that also takes place within the confines of the MCU. So I can understand how, to a degree, they needed to make this a bit more rigid. It is kind of wild to me hearing just how different this is from any previous comics iteration, but also kind of wild to me hearing how different each comics iteration has been as well. So
yes, so I could literally.
It seems like to me that this being like potentially the first season of possibly more of Moon Knight, that if the comics, what they're doing is like that the different personalities work together. This seems like being season 1, it would be more like origin story, like they're working towards how the personalities learned to work together. Like
I said, I have no idea where this is going, and I want all of these things to come. Like I've heard so many possibilities and theories that I'm like, I would watch any one of these that come up. I think I am the only one that has connected solidly Moon Knight to the Netflix Marvel universe easily. Like you do not have to go far. There's a whole personality that they have left out, a New York cabbie. That should have been for me the main driving force in this universe, because that easily ties into the rest of the outskirts Marvel MCU or the Marvel television universe. Like they now have the rights to all of that stuff, and they started this show in England. They started the show in London.
Yeah, he's in.
That's rough. That to me don't make sense. But I am being entertained. Like I want to see. Midnight Suns keeps popping into my head, but it's where Daredevil and Moon Knight and the Punisher and like they all joined together, and there was this great comic run. Like they can do that. Like, they're not really shying away from violence in any of this. Like, I'm trying to remember. I see a lot of dead bodies and a lot of violence, but it's
Daredevil
usually
was
after a flash.
Freaking violent as shit.
And, like, Punisher was horribly violent. Daredevil was violent. Like, this is all in that same universe. Like, that same thematic universe, if you will. This is not Loki. This is not even Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, that's not this universe. Like, and I'm curious as how they're going to tie it together, because they're not just going to do this 6 episodes and it's going to be nothing afterward. We know that's not what Marvel does.
Yeah, no. I was listening to an interview earlier that with one of the showrunners, or the showrunner. I can't remember exactly who it was, but he was saying that his favorite thing about the Moon Knight character is how malleable he is, and how many different situations he could easily slide into. Like, he was like Moon Knight has so many different aspects, and the design is so singularly awesome that you could slide Moon Knight into something like Captain and the Winter Soldier, but you could also throw him into, like, Doctor Strange. And, like, he could work in any scenario you put him in. And, like, it wouldn't feel out of place. He's kind of like this wonderful MCU glue, as it were.
And
like,
it's so true. Like, and that's the, like, I was a main supporter of Moon Knight for a very long time, and I never understood why he never got the popularity that he deserved. Like, he has played with every Marvel superhero out there, every one of them. Like, at one point in time, there was a comic series that, as opposed to his multiple personalities being Mark and Jake and Steven, it was Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine. And he thought he was talking to them because he was at one point in time part of the Avengers, and they were giving him advice on how to deal with a certain situation. But he was cuckoo nuts, and they weren't there.
I remember the covers for that were really
was
cool.
cuckoo.
Right, like
For Cocoa Puffs?
he had the shield, and he had Spider-Man's
claws.
webs and the claws, and, like, it was great.
Yeah.
But, like, that's
I kind of want to see this Moon Knight, like, interact with Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Oh my god, yes.
I am just. I'm sorry. I want to let you get to your actual, like, what final thoughts before I go, like, diving into my thoughts, because I do have a lot to say about this show.
The big takeaway for me is that I'm enjoying it. Like, they could have done me so wrong, and they didn't. Okay, just for the sheer fact that they made F. Murray Abraham Khonshu. Like, I know that voice.
Oh,
I
fuck
love
yes.
that
Oh
voice.
my god, he's great.
He was like, I
What
couldn't
a
have
dick.
perfect. That was the perfect casting. Now, I know him from other things. Like, I look at that, I hear that voice, and I think of, like, 13 Ghosts, and I'm like, oh, that he was such a dick in that movie. But in the comic universe, Khonshu's not that big of a dick. He is pretentious. He's like omnipresent kind of guy.
He's still a god.
Right now, like, they're making him more of a street level god, if you will, and it's an interesting play. Okay, let's see where they go with this. The backstory with it, it's not comic book lore. Like, Khonshu didn't make a deal with Mark. Like, Khonshu brought Mark back to life, and then Mark went, you know what? You're a big deal. I'm going to do this for you. Now, the way they're like, there's some sort of backroom deal going on that Mark is going to do something for Khonshu, and then Khonshu is going to let him go, and, like, okay, that doesn't. There was more of a connection between Mark and Khonshu in the storyline, like in the comics. Now it's boss and employee almost.
Again, from the details that we've seen so
Right,
far,
so
we
far.
still don't know exactly how that all played out. And if I know Marvel TV shows, we're gonna get
We're gonna get a flashback.
Yeah, we're gonna get a flashback at some point.
I would like to interject, though. We do know for sure that there is a deal between Mark and Khonshu that involves servitude and him being bound in this contract in order to protect his wife. So
Yeah,
that's already been confirmed, which
I
sounds
just
like
mean,
it's already
all the
different.
details of how it went down and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's a lot
I
of
also find it super interesting that, like, Khonshu's like, you know who I'm picking next, right? Like, you can finish your deal. I like working with you, but if you finish your deal, I'm taking her next. And like, I think that's a really interesting thing because Khonshu's not being portrayed as at least not that I'm seeing it as a bad guy. Like, he's got a job to do, and he's going to do his job how he needs to do his job, and he's going to pick the best candidate for the job. Doesn't give a crap about their personal lives, and like, this is how it is. So she's who's next. So either you stick around or I move on to the next.
It's an interesting.
I think it's really interesting.
It's not. He's not like he's a deity. That's not normally how that goes. Someone is subservient to the deity and does their will, like the Ethan Hawke character for Jesus, I forgot who he is. Amit. He is all Amit all the time. Like that is my experience where that relationship is normally for Mark and Khonshu. It has been roller coastery, but it started off that way, and then he went a little more crazy, and then at the end he helped save the world with blah 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 blah. Right now, Khonshu's not acting like a deity. He's acting like a mob boss to me, and I go, okay, this is just another iteration. I'm along for the ride. Let's go. Oscar, take me away, because I could not imagine, of course, other than Ryan Reynolds, a better person play it. So he's doing a great job.
Oh my God.
I'm
Oscar
glad they
Isaac.
didn't pick a white guy to play Moon Knight.
Oscar Isaac is frigging outstanding in this role. Just outstanding. He's funny. Who knew? Did anybody know he was funny? I didn't know he was funny. I knew he was hot. I knew he was a good actor. Didn't know he was funny.
He got a couple of decent quips in the Star Wars movies.
Sure. Like he's quippy, but this is genuinely like laugh out loud hilarious.
The little Avatar joke in the first episode brought me some
Avatar,
chuckles.
great film, blue people.
Oh, you mean the anime? To my point, coming at this from nothing, I'm liking it more than I thought I would, which isn't to say that I didn't think I was going to like it. I just really had no idea what to expect out of it. But like, I was actively smiling through so much of that first episode. Like, I'm really loving this mythology, and I mean, I guess it's kind of a bummer that it's pretty different from the source material, but what they're coming up with here, I'm finding utterly fascinating. Like, I'm really, really into it. The fact that Khonshu is like kind of like an excommunicated god or a deity, where it's just like, yeah, well, we don't talk to him anymore because he's
Bruno.
He doesn't want to. Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno. He doesn't want to kill people before they commit crimes, like some kind of sucker. Like, no, we're gonna minority report this shit and just take care of business right out of the get go, murder the kids and everything. And he didn't think that was cool. So
Project Insight much?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the more I'm learning about Khonshu, I think it's pretty cool. I love the design. He's like super creepy looking.
I love that.
They went like that's straight out of like a comic book cover version of Khonshu. Like he's had a bunch of different iterations, but like I loved the bird skull. I like that tattered look, that the oversizedness of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's visually engaging. It's really it's a stunning look for that character.
I do need a second to just nerd out about the aesthetic of Khonshu, because the first time I ever did anything for Evan artistically relating to Moon Knight, I just found this version of Moon Knight holding a bird skull, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I started looking up Khonshu, and he had this bird skull, and I was like, who the fuck is this? And then I just like lost my mind, because I was like, I can't handle this. This is amazing. I love, like, first of all, I just love drawing birds. The skull is super dope, and he's a god. I was like, yes, take me. Khonshu. Praise be to Khonshu.
So yeah.
I also really, really dig this suit thing. Again, like, I'm just trying to picture a situation
his
where
costume?
like making it work in live action of just like, all right, well, I'm gonna go duck in this closet and throw my tights on and stuff. Like, he seems like the way this show is making it work, like the ability to turn the costume on and off, Like they figured out the cheat for that with Iron Man and Spider-Man later. Iron Man always had a little bit of a cheat because of the whole mechanical thing, but like once they did the nanomachines, they're like, all right, cool. So we figured out a way to just finger snap the suit on and off. It makes for snappier transitions when you have a character that has a full body suit on, and you don't have to worry about cutaways and like, all right, how did he get in? People think about how did he get in the costume?
Where's the phone booth?
Exactly. Like in the comic books, things happening off panel like that don't really, time isn't as immediately obviously linear.
Hold on.
When reading.
But the amount of time that Moon Knight spends in costume in the comics is astronomically larger than the time he spends in his civvies, if you will. Like, he's always in either the Moon Knight costume or the Mr. Knight suit. Like, nowadays. You hardly ever see him without a mask on. So, keep that in mind. Like, they just gave up on trying to go back and forth.
Well, that's good. I like that this gives us the opportunity to... I personally think the whole summoning the suit thing is just freaking cool looking. Like, I love this idea that he's got like this interpretation of the costume that's like mummy wrapping and stuff. I think that's super cool, especially the similarities between that and Khonshu's design, like as well. Like it just kind of pieces together, but also it seems like it's sort of a manifestation of his personality, maybe because of the way that Steven summoned the snappy suit or whatever.
Right.
I just think that aspect of it is super cool, and that the suit gives him some sort of super ability like strength or whatever.
Mark did mention that it was some sort of ceremonial robe.
Yeah.
So it has I'm going to use this phrase lightly. It has some sort of basis in their reality. Like it wasn't just something that he made up. And the differences in those costumes from Mark to Steven is like the sheer differences between those two people. Like you can't be any more visual than what they threw on that screen.
I love the way it looks when it's in motion. Like the chase scene looked so freaking cool. Like when he jumps around. Like, I mean, I want to see this character in so much more Marvel stuff going forward. Like, I mean, I get it now. Like, I really get.
Now you get it.
You're such a. Because I never looked into it in the past. I've never read any of the comics, but like, I didn't really get it, and I didn't really try to. But seeing this, I'm like, yeah, I get it. This is a really cool character idea. I think it's being handled really well. Like, I'm finding Oscar Isaac's so interesting. I liked his wife. I like Ethan Hawke with the glass in his shoes and stuff. Like that was the first thing we saw was him. Like that whole little intro sequence was like, what the hell? This is wacky. And every piece of the mythology, there's like, it's reminding me of like superhero Indiana Jones, because like, think about all old Indiana Jones things. They take like, well, here's some mythology stuff, and now let's apply it to quote unquote real world situations and go. And I've always loved that about Indiana Jones movies. So it's like, all right, we're taking the what if all this Egyptian mythology was real and running with it. And like the fact that he's the only one who can see the jackal thing that was chasing after him, like I'm still not sure what purpose that serves other than just being freaking hilarious. And like I'm fine with that. Like I could not be happier with this show. I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. And unfortunately,
I'm happy it's making you happy. I know it was never going to be your dream show, but I'm happy that it's not bothering you.
No, it's absolutely not. It's the opposite. It's like television. I'm actively enjoying it. It's watching week to week. Like I'm downloading it on the highest resolution I can, because there's shit that's happening in the backgrounds and whatnot. Like that's something like Marvel is so goddamn smart. In both the first and the second episodes, there are QR codes hidden in the show that you can scan, and it'll take you to a website that shows you his first and second appearances in the comic book world.
No way.
Yes.
Yep.
I noticed the QR code on the storage unit. I didn't even think to scan it. That's so cool.
In the first episode, when he's talking to the little girl and he's like, they pull it out the nose, and like
it was the very beginning of the episode,
like,
when
right
she's
on the wall. There's a QR code. Now it's small, but like it's scannable, which is great. Like God damn it, Marvel! Like you got this shit on lock.
It's faring a lot better than Morbius is.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oofa.
I have to say, though, like, that's something about this show, because they introduced him, and he's basically a completely obscure character compared to all the other characters that they've put in the Marvel Universe at this point.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, comparatively, and now they're putting in something that, to me, like, shows a lot of respect for the character and the thought that they're putting into it, because putting something like that in there, putting those cute little Easter eggs for those of us who know the history or those who are fans like Evan, I think that that's a really nice nod to their audience. But then it's also a really great way to educate, inform, and engage a new audience. So I'm super pleased to see that they've done this, and I wanted to just say that. I mean, my 2 cents on this has just been, I love it. I'm so excited to watch this. I have been blissfully ignorant throughout this entire thing, so the information I do have is enough to inform me that it's inaccurate, and the other part of me just goes, don't care, he looks awesome.
And that's comic
fantastic.
books for you. That's comic books right there.
As a person who has like zero comics knowledge, pre-joining the MCU, which was more obscure, Moon Knight or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Moon Knight.
Okay, just curious.
I mean, it was close, but Guardians
I
of
was
the
gonna say
Galaxy
not by a lot, but
not by
you're
a
probably
lot,
right.
but Guardians had a bunch of solid characters that popped in and out. So the iteration that we saw on the movies is not the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, that was what they did with Stallone and Yondu and whatnot. There's the Ravagers, right? Those were iterations of the original Guardians.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they were trying to pull off.
Yeah.
So
Oh, nothing to do with Moon Knight. I just was curious when you said, like, this is the most obscure character from the comics that they've pulled today, and I'm like, what else, like, super obscure have they
Well,
done?
at least specifically with the television shows they've got. I mean, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were.
but none of them were in there. All of these characters were not
In their
introduced by
costume.
themselves.
Oh, that too, yeah.
So Luke Cage came, like Daredevil, which is a solid character. Everybody knows that led to Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Guardians of the Galaxy was not a single character. Like, you had a group of people and you're like, damn it, that's Chris Pratt. Like, yes. Moon
But
Knight,
like
this-
the other thing, the kind of think the other angle of that is like, you know, think about what Iron Man was before that movie. Like, Iron Man was kind of a C tier character,
a lower
like,
tier character. Yeah.
He was not. You know, he didn't pull in numbers before
He
Robert
was not
Downey
the leader
Jr.
of the Marvel universe that he became.
Wasn't there
Yeah.
a cartoon show, though, like an Avengers cartoon show way before the movies came out, and Iron Man was in it?
Yeah.
There was an Iron Man cartoon.
That's
and
what it was.
lasted her, I think, a season.
There was also a
Okay.
Silver Surfer cartoon, but
True.
I mean,
No, see, that's what's so weird to me is I never realized that Iron Man wasn't a big character because of the fact that I had seen that cartoon when I was a kid, and like I thought everyone knew who Iron Man was.
and like that's the thing. Like, all it took was for a character to do one really big story, and it solidified that character in the in the Marvel universe. And like Demon in a Bottle, that was a huge deal for Marvel, which is, you know, Tony Stark being an alcoholic. Like, that was his claim to fame, I guess, is a weird way to put it.
But didn't you say that was bringing too much life to your comics?
And that's
Real
when
life.
that's when comics started to shift to not be standalone stories about the fantastical. It was, let's show reality in these things, because Stan Lee had this vision that comics, people should be able to see themselves in comics, and this is what we're dealing with in comics via the main character, not necessarily the situation that the main character goes into. He always believed that, you know, Peter Parker can be anybody under, like Spider-Man could be anybody under the mask kind of thing. And he brought in a lot of reality, which is fine. I always enjoyed the more fantastical storylines, the things that I know will never happen. I will not be attacked by a giant squid monster ravaging New York.
You don't know.
Says
You never know. I mean, true.
It's less likely.
Less likely than dealing with an alcoholic father. How's that?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I've heard about the alligators in the sewers. Okay, is it really a stretch?
No, it's not. It's true. Truly not.
All right. Well, this has been a hoot and a holler. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the show. It makes me. It's like. I mean, really, 10 years ago. There's gonna be a Moon Knight MCU TV series.
MC what now, motherfucker?
Just wonderful.
Yeah.
I could not be happier with this show myself. I have yet to be let down. It's really freaking me out that I have yet to be let down by an MCU property at all. Like any movie or any TV show, they have not let me down yet. And it's like,
and they're trying. They're actively trying.
Starting to make me nervous because now, like, we're at the point they've been at this for a long time. All right, a long time, and now I see trailers for things like this looks great. Like, you know, we had a big conversation about it before. I think Ms. Marvel looks freaking great, but like, part of me in the back of my head's kind of scared. Like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the thing that they fuck up? Because who knows what it's going to be? I mean, the way they're doing the multiverse right now is really starting to. That's making me more nervous than anything. This Doctor Strange movie is making me all flavors of nervous.
Oh yeah.
We just recently watched Spider-Man No Way Home with the kids, having only seen the first two Tobey Maguire movies, and it worked just fine without knowledge of anything of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. With no knowledge of that at all whatsoever, the movie works just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Which was something that I was kind of concerned about.
Okay.
They start pulling in all this stuff and being like, nah, every Marvel movie ever is canon. Now you're starting to make it like you are now removing any chance of anyone being like, all right, I'm going to do a rewatch. And you're starting to make the movies as complicated as the comics, which is not a great thing. Because like the thing I've wanted to get back into X-Men comics for like a freaking decade, and I can't because I'm like, all right, I want to start reading X-Men comics again. I don't know who any of these characters are. All right, well, first you got to go back here, you got to read this, and then you got to get the trades for this, and then you got to keep up with 5 separate series that all take place at the same time with 3 different characters and 500 other different characters, and they all live on an island. Like, there is no way to just be
Wolverine.
like,
I don't know how that guy gets everything done. He's all over the place.
Never sleeps. He's got a time turner like Hermione. He's it's impossible to just be like, I want to read X-Men or I want to read Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I guess, is a little bit easier to wrap your head around theoretically, but that kind of stuff's impossible. If they're going to start pulling in, like, if you want to make sense of where the MCU now is, you've got to watch Fan 4 Stick. Like, you're creating a problem, because the reason that people love the MCU so much is that it's better than all that other shit.
Yes.
Like, those other Marvel movies, they're bad. That's why I don't want to go back and watch X-Men 3. I don't want to acknowledge Spider-Man 3, but fortunately I don't necessarily have to. And I don't know what they're doing with this multiverse of madness, but if I gotta, like, I don't ever want to watch some of those other Marvel movies again, and I've never seen Fan 4 Stick, and I don't ever want to. But if they start bringing that kind of stuff in there, like the thing with the symbiote suit at the end of Spider-Man.
Endgame. Oh yeah, No Way Home. Sorry.
Eddie at the bar.
Eddie at the bar, but then like he gets sucked back into his dimension, except for a little piece of the symbiote suit. So now a piece of that Venom movie exists in the MCU proper. Now, I don't know how they're going to handle that, but I also don't know how they handle that without making it so that in order to make any sense of what you just saw, you need to see those other Venom movies, which we just watched the first one. It was fine.
Yeah.
I fell asleep.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. They're making me a little bit nervous with this whole cross universe stuff going on, but they haven't let me down yet. And Moon Knight is fantastic, but we're running a little short on time, so we should.
Do you want to just go into the next and just call it? Like, we're not doing commercials, right?
We're not doing commercials, but I want to say we're taking a break.
Okay.
and then not take a break.
Okay.
Okay, just to keep the flow going. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks. You are listening to this week's episode on Geekade.com. Stick around. And we're back.
And we're back.
Hopefully you didn't, scrub forward to skip our commercials because you probably missed something.
Yeah, because I didn't write any. Just not doing it this week.
As Angie said
That's
earlier, this episode brought to you commercial free by COVID.
Yes. I was actually just going to thank you. Thank you very much.
I don't know. In this, I'm going to leave this in. So I'm not touching my computer anymore because everything, like my tracks are still recording and the master's still recording, but everything else is frozen.
No.
So I'm just going to keep talking and hopefully we'll make it through the rest of this episode.
Oh, dear God.
Like, you can see it. Look.
No, I don't want to look. I'm scared. I'm genuinely not
Okay.
turning around right
I
now.
really hope we're not wasting our time.
Oh,
I'll
no,
be
no.
so
The
very
master's
sad.
going. We're good. We're good. Like,
Okay.
I
All right.
can still
Cool.
see you and hear you, so we're good.
All right, so we are talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, which originally premiered August 6, 2020 on Paramount+. It is the first official Star Trek comedy series. It is not the first official Star Trek animated series, but this was recommended by a couple folks in our Discord. I was kind of on the fence about it. I didn't think the trailers made it look all that great, but I kept hearing good things about it and also hearing mixed things about it because much like Star Wars fans, Star Trek fans can be very difficult to please.
No.
But
really?
really,
I don't believe you.
but I have been really enjoying Star Trek Picard. I think it's an extraordinarily fun show. And one thing that was pointed out to me by a Star Trek fan I was talking to is that every Star Trek fan has problems with every Star Trek thing. And that doesn't mean they hate them. And, there's no Star Trek show is ever going to be this person's perfect Star Trek show. So I thought this, with the amount of recommendations it got, the fact that it was short, and I've been on a bit of a Star Trek kick lately, I thought it would be entertaining to check it out. So because of life, the universe, and everything, and COVID, we fell behind, but we did wind up watching this last night as we're recording this episode super late. And I'll just start by saying that I was very pleasantly surprised by this. I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and I did not expect that at all. I expected it to be funny. I expected to chuckle. I did not expect to genuinely laugh at a handful of parts.
So I'm going to chime in as well and say I was shockingly entertained. Like, I'm not a Star Trek fan by any stretch of the imagination, but you are absolutely correct. That I have a list of lines that I could have. It's a rare occasion that I have to choose the line I want to say to open the episode. But this was very funny. Like,
Right?
Very funny.
I love everybody's shock at the fact that we were amused by this show.
But it didn't look this funny.
No. No, it did not.
Even just looking at the animation, it looks like, okay, so you're doing Family Guy Star Trek. Okay. But, like, it's not that at all. It was really funny.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. I said to Evan, I was like, I am very pleasantly surprised right now. I did not see that coming. I want to watch more of it. Like, genuinely had no expectation that would be my takeaway from watching that episode.
And we
Yeah,
probably
100%
will watch
same.
more.
I figured at best, I would watch this out of a Star Trek fandom point of view and be like moderately entertained while I did, but I would watch it just out of kind of like, this is just good enough for me to keep going. And that's not it at all. I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
And did you feel like because you're a Star Trek fan, there were certain things that were just funnier? Because I definitely felt like when he kept wanting to go, where did he want to go? Like when they went to the holodeck, that shit cracked me up so much. Oh my God. Especially because like I would watch the episodes where they would do that on Next Gen, and sometimes I was like, oh my God, I hate these episodes. And they did that and I was like, yes.
One of my lines was, "This is a very detailed program."
Like it's just little things like
Just
and
really
then
likes the engine room.
yeah. Like there some of the jokes in there. They just and the stuff where like the food making. Oh my god, my brain is so tired.
Oh my god,
The food replicators.
The food replicator.
Yeah, food replicator.
He was fixing it. My other line was banana hot. Banana hot.
Like, I just couldn't. That's the shit I would think about, like, when I'd be watching these shows and be like, man, it would really suck if this broke. And then they address it in this cartoon, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, oh my god.
Like, this was so clearly made by Trek fans, but they also did it in a way that, like, made it not, like, necessary to be a Trek fan. Like,
Oh no,
the shit's just funny. Like,
Yeah.
I did not feel left out by any stretch of the imagination.
I could tell that there were. I would have enjoyed it more if I got all the Star Trek jokes, but
But you didn't have to.
enjoyed it plenty
Yeah.
without knowing them.
and Klingons all have apostrophes in there.
I swear to God, I was just thinking that, and I couldn't remember if that was in the episode or in the trailer for the next episode at the end of the show.
Oh my god.
She's really drunk and she's waving around that Klingon sword. She's like, I got it from a guy with a patch.
That is my favorite character. That Mariner. She is.
Oh, she's great.
Too great.
Lower deck.
Yeah,
And then that turns out that like the captain is her mom.
yeah, and her dad avoiding her mom on the faking interference or whatever on the intercom.
Admiral stuff. Gotta go. Sorry. Don't you hang up on me. It's your daughter too.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun reveal. I did like very much that this show has a heart. Like, it's not pure comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is very much a silly ass show, but it's got like that. It's. I want to liken it to Scrubs style of like. There's a heart underneath all that.
Yep.
Yeah,
you make
know
that
it.
work, and
Yep.
you've got something really special on your hands. And I really cannot believe how much I liked this episode. We were in a shit mood when we started it.
Oh my god.
Boy, we had such a rough day with the COVID and the kids and the everything. And then Karen, she's the only one who's allowed to leave the house right now. I guess I'm still, full lockdown quarantine until Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so she went out to get us Five Guys. Now,
Okay.
I do not like American cheese. So I never order cheese on my burgers or anything because most of the time you go somewhere and they're putting cheese on something, they're slathering it with gross ass American cheese. For some reason, people always think he meant to order cheese. This the fucker wants cheese and mayonnaise at all costs. That's what he wants. American cheese and mayonnaise. So every time I order a burger from this Five Guys, there's like a 50-50 chance they're going to put cheese on it when I specifically don't ask for cheese. Like, sometimes I'll even put in the notes, please, for the love of God, no cheese. This time I did not do that. I just
like a no
ordered
cheese.
the bacon burger. There's a bacon cheeseburger option and a bacon burger option. I choose the one that inherently does not involve cheese. And you better believe that motherfucker came to my house with cheese on it. And like, not just like, okay, I'll scrape off the cheese. No.
Oh, you can't
they
scrape
put
off
the
American
cheese
cheese.
in between the two patties.
Oh no.
There is no removing that cheese.
Nope.
It's part of the sandwich.
It's now burger.
And she's not.
Also, it was an exhausting day, and we had to wait until 9:00 to even get our dinner, and I had
Jesus.
like 1 ounce of energy to like start the car, drive there, wait for the food, and come back. There was no going back to the store and getting it fixed.
So that was it. That was however much a Five Guys burger cost.
It was $11.
$11 goddamn
for a
dollars
burger
right in the
you
trash.
couldn't eat.
Right in the trash.
Did you call them?
No, I took pictures to yell at them on Twitter, but then I was too tired to yell at them on Twitter because
Oh my God, you must be
COVID.
tired. Too tired
Yeah.
to yell on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Too tired to bitch on Twitter is really something.
Because,
you
like,
guys.
what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You're going to offer me a free burger and put cheese on that, too? No, you're going to leave the cheese off and cover it in mayonnaise or something. Like, whatever. I
Because
still got
this
my
isn't-
milkshake.
And because this isn't the first time this has happened at this location, like, I kind of don't want to bitch because what are they going to do? Give us coupons to go back. I'm done with that place.
It happens all the time.
No,
I
you
cannot tell you
can-
how many times they have insisted on putting cheese on a burger that I specifically requested. Please, for the love of God, do not put cheese on this burger. Oh, so what, a cheeseburger? You got it. Son
I
of a
can
bitch.
promise you that with most locations that deal in food, Evan has seen me do this. If you call back, especially if you ask for the general manager, and tell them what happened and that it is not the first time, and you want a full refund, they should give you your money back.
But that's just it. We didn't even have that kind of energy.
I will.
We couldn't even muster that many fucks.
I will give the fucks for you. I will make that call if I have to. I'll pull
The
a
number
Karen.
of battles that Kris has been through lately with customer service reps and the lack of satisfaction he's received from them in the last month. The
this
Five
is
Guys
so
battle
low
was like not
on the
one we
totem
were
pole
gonna
of
pick.
battles of like between the bank and the mortgage company. Five Guys can keep their fucking burger. All right, like I have spent hours of my life yelling at complete and total incompetence on every management level possible for both my bank and my mortgage company. I just don't have it in me to argue with the burger joint. I just don't. It's not important. Like, at the end of the day, I still got my milkshake and some tasty ass fries. I had some leftover pizza, and that was the end of my night. I threw $11 worth of hamburger in the trash, and it just wound up being a funny story to tell on the podcast. But like,
I'm curious
holy
as
shit,
to how Star Trek helped with this situation.
that's
It
what I'm
made
saying.
it so much better.
We went into this episode following that. That's where we
okay.
stopped. We sat down to eat our dinner and watch this Star Trek show. It was like, all right, let's watch this stupid fucking Star Trek show and just go to bed. And by the end, we were both in a good mood because that's how freaking funny this show was.
That's
it pulled us
awesome.
out of a day of COVID and cheeseburgers we didn't order and stress beyond stress. I just could not have possibly been happier with it.
Is Stress Beyond Stress a weird version of Sight Beyond Sight?
It is. It's the shitty version of that.
It's a shame. I can only imagine how much more you would have enjoyed it had it not been the Five Guys fuckeried beforehand.
See, that's just it. I don't even know if I would have enjoyed it more because I think the turnaround is just about one of the best feelings that you could have,
Okay.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
something is amusing enough and surprisingly amusing enough to turn you around on a really bad day. Like that's some special shit right there.
That's a
Like
keeper.
if this show had been mediocre, I think we would have been even harsher on it. But no, this was really good. I am really looking forward to watching more of it. We're probably gonna dive into this after we finish Parks and Rec as our little half-hour thing for a little while because there's 2 seasons of it now.
I think so. I can't. I'm not touching my computer. I instinctively went to look. But did you watch the trailer for the next episode at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because what I see is that they're going to start introducing more of the main crew, and they look fantastic as well. Because I always saw
the big beefy guy.
Yeah. For the love of God, please just let me blow up their core.
I'm glad they didn't kill like the super good looking extra white dude who like got bit in the first place. That's like the most obvious thing in the world. Got bit.
He was
I don't know, by a
wearing
bug.
red, sir.
Don't worry about it.
There was so many people in red. I'm like, oh, all of these people are going to die. That's the only thing I know about Star Trek.
He would not be wrong.
I can't tell you how happy this made me. Like, I'm so happy that it exists. And on one hand, I kind of wish something like this existed for Star Wars as well. But like, this is one of those things that Star Trek so desperately needs to be. Like, they're really trying to expand the Star Trek brand right now. And I think they're doing it in a pretty intelligent way. It seems to be working. Like, I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with Discovery, but Trek fans still seem to be sticking with it, and that it seems to have evened out. I'm loving Picard. I'm very interested in the, was it Strange New Worlds? Or I forget what exactly it's called. This new Captain Pike show. I think that looks really cool. And the fact that there's this like deep lore grown-up comedy show, like the fact that Star Trek is so overtly showing how willing it is to make fun of itself, because that's something that Trek has.
Never done.
Trek seems very stick up its ass, but at the same time, look up, if you were doing research on Q before the season 2 season 2 of Picard, just to see what that character was about. There's no chance you didn't also stumble upon the picture of him in a sombrero with a mariachi band on the deck of the Enterprise. We're like, what the hell? Like, Star Trek has always been pretty aware of how goofy it is, but it does take itself pretty seriously, but it also is not afraid to take the piss out of itself. Like, God, the Tribble episode of Deep Space Nine was so wonderful. There's this bit where, like, in original series, the Klingons just looked like dudes, right? Like, they didn't have the big, creepy, bumpy foreheads and stuff. And, like, so they go there and they like, characters from Deep Space Nine, including Worf, go to the episode The Trouble with Tribbles. And they're, like, sitting down in the background. Worf looks like Worf. And then a bunch of dudes walk in, and they're like, what are those guys? And they're, oh, Klingons are here. And everyone's looking around like, where? And like, those are the Klingons. And then they look at Worf, and they look at the Klingons from the old Trek, and then look at Worf, and he's like, we don't talk about it. It's fucking genius. I love that stuff. And like, that stuff's always been there in Trek, like kind of bubbling under the surface. But
Picard, it's like a little bit more obvious, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, Picard has a sense of humor.
It definitely does. And that's another wonderful thing about it. It's not this show takes that humor that's always just kind of chilling right there under the surface. Even though the show looks way more stick up its butt than Star Wars, and it just takes all that and just makes a big old joke out of it and does it with such respect and reverence for the source material. It's just wonderful. It's
and
just
I wonder
thing.
whether, like, Star Wars seems like more fun because it's primarily about, like, rebel type characters, and Star Trek is more about, like, the authority figures.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That is a good point. Yeah, because Star Wars is very much about rebellion, and Star Trek is typically always been about,
like, this
what
is
if
the Federation.
The good guys won? What if the Federation that, like, it rules everything was actually the good guys? Would that be cool?
That doesn't track. No, that doesn't make sense.
The answer is apparently yes.
That's why it's called fiction.
There it is. There it is.
Yes, indeed.
So this cartoon shows so much reverence for the original source material, just by, like, at the very end of the episode where she is like, I can't remember the character's name, but the two main characters are talking to each other. It's like, I'm going to be your mentor, and then she starts talking about all of the things from past Star Trek. Like, Spock, and Sulu, he was rocking a sword. You could do that. You could be the new sword guy.
We haven't had a sword guy in a while.
Like, and at one point in time, she says something about the sky whales. Like, that was a Star Trek movie. Like,
Yep,
they
Star
traveled
Trek
in
4. That's my
time.
favorite one.
Like, I remember that.
Double dumbass on you.
Nice.
I really, like, I would hope that they get George Takei involved in the show at some point. I think he would be down for that, and I think that would be great.
That would be wonderful.
Well, good pull, Kris. I mean, I'm not
And we didn't even address the absurdity of the fact that this, like, ship's mission is second contact to, like, get all the
first
paperwork
line.
right. Like, set up the Wi-Fi or whatever.
I like that quite a bit. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you,
just
Evan.
as
This was a surprise to us all, and I'm happy it worked out.
Yeah. See,
Good job, honey.
Every once in a while, this shit works. I
Who
like it.
recommended this? Because thank you.
It was several people in the Discord. I can't remember who by name, and I am sorry for that, but everybody in the Discord who recommended this to me, thank you very much. This was wonderful.
Win.
Okay, that's going to do it for us. That is going to wrap up this week's episode of this week's episode. This week's episode. This show is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you, and you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the official Geekade channels or the more specific Twepcast accounts, and of course the four of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com and in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, where can people find you?
STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Etsy. Except that I'm participating in the Etsy strike, so from April 11th to April 18th, my store will be on vacation mode, but you can hit me up on my socials, and if you want to know more about the Etsy strike, visit etsystrike.org.
Okay, Angie, where can people find you?
You can go to angelafernot.com, and you can ignore my Etsy store as well, because I've had it on vacation mode since before I knew there'd be a strike, because I had the feelings that people have who are currently striking. So,
The worst.
get your shit together, Etsy. You're a giant disappointment. But my shop is active on my website, and I do have some new things there.
Yes, always buy direct from artists rather than other platforms if you can.
Thank you.
Nice. All right, Evan. I assume your Etsy store is closed as well.
Yeah, I'm closing down my Etsy store. But
I'm just
He still has
imagining
an
what you sell on
OnlyFans.
your Etsy store. That's why I'm laughing. Like,
It's all Moon Knight
All
fan
Moon
art
Knight,
with
yeah,
stick
that's it.
figures.
it's reselling of things that
It's
I currently
no.
own.
Let's be real. It's Moon Knight foot pics.
There it is. That's how I roll.
Gross.
You know what?
But since it's like it's in the costume, so he's got like
just one white
bandage
shoe,
wrappings on it.
Then
so
another white shoe.
photos
then a different white
of
shoe.
Ryan Reynolds with Moon Knight hoods drawn on it.
I actually have one of those. I had a digital artist make me that.
of course you did.
Anywho,
Of course you did.
We're putting a lot of work into Tales of Cape Fear, so you can check us out at talesofcapefear.com and Tales of Cape Fear on Instagram.
Yeah, we got a billboard, guys.
Yes, we do.
Ooh, that's
Nice.
awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Big show
right,
coming
if
up
you
on
need-
the 16th, so just hoping it works out.
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh, original content. So who's up next?
Me. Right? I think so. I can't
All right,
check.
Evan.
I'm pretty sure it's me, but I'm assuming...
Star Trek Upper Decks, right?
Yes.
Star Trek Upper Decker.
Ew. Gross. You're gross, Karen.
That's what she said.
Literally. So, due to the fact we did a smattering of Moon Knight this episode, by the next episode that's not news, we should have the entirety of the season, and we're going to do a deep dive into the completion of Moon Knight, all 6 episodes. So
I love it.
Watch
I
it.
love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. I can't believe that
It's gonna
worked
be
out
done,
so well
right?
for you.
It's going to be done, right? I'm assuming it is. It's
Like
going to
the
be damn
timing.
close.
Do you want me to Google this since you can't use your computer?
You could try.
Yeah, let's just double check and make sure. But yeah, I think
It
it should be done by then, right? It's not that many episodes.
If it isn't, we'll adjust their recording schedule, guys.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Cool.
Yeah,
To be announced Wednesday, April 27th. Yeah, I think it'll be great. Everything's gonna be fine.
We'll be fine. It'll be work. It'll be fine. April 27th is the last episode.
I don't know.
Oh, good talk. Good talk. That's what we're talking about. The full season of Moon Knight. We'll make it happen.
I love it. Excellent. All right then. Well, that does it for us. Thanks for listening, everybody. I am Kris.
I'm Karen.
I'm Angie.
Summoned the suit.
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.